Alright, here we are guys. We are trying to weather the storm with this video. If you know me well enough, you know that this YouTube channel has followed a format where every 10 a.m. PST, we always upload a video. But for the past few years, the 10 a.m. video has always been a video that I pre-recorded the night before because I like to sleep in and I don't like to wake up too early nowadays. Hey, back off. I'm not a student anymore. So, if there was any big news in the NHL, any big signings, any big trades or whatever that happens before 10 a.m. PST that you're clamoring in the comments to get me to make a video about, yes, don't worry, we'll get to all of that and more as the day goes on. But for now, I'm going to talk about two of my favorite teams and some players on them and try to make peace a little bit for now. Red Wings fans, Canadiens fans, I know y'all are in here and you're interested in hearing me talk about your guys, but try to keep things civil in the comment section below. I know y'all don't really like each other that much, but that's okay. So because these are two pretty similar sounding stories, I wanted to put them together just because I like these players and it's my show, I can do whatever I want. Let's talk today about the Montreal Canadiens and the young guy on this team that is really making things difficult to send him down, and the young player on the Detroit Red Wings who's been given a golden opportunity with the departure of Dylan Larkin from the lineup. So, without further ado, today we're talking about Montreal Canadiens forward Joshua Waugh, and we're also talking about Detroit Red Wings forward Joe Veleno. Now, you know what? Because I like to be a bit of a tease, let's go out there and talk about Joe Veleno first out of these two guys. Because when it comes to Veleno, I think a lot of people, even in the Montreal side of things, would remember Veleno because of his status as an exceptional player in the CHL in 2016. Back in this time frame, Joe Veleno was the very first exceptional status player who played in the QMJHL. All the other exceptional status guys were in the OHL earlier, like the McDavids, the Tavareses, etc. But Veleno was number one in the Q. And in his QMJHL days, he was seen as a guy that was going to be super good, and he had all these mature traits that made him a projectable NHL prospect, and heading into the 2017-18 season, he was seen as a guy that could become a top 5 pick. But nevertheless, we recognize that with Veleno and his profile, his draft season wasn't really the best, and as a result, he slipped from being a top 5 potential draft pick in 2018 to getting taken in the 30th overall spot by the Detroit Red Wings. Veleno is now 24 years old, happy belated birthday to Joe Veleno, and signed on till the end of this season making $825,000. He's got 26 points in 59 games played, which is a pretty big improvement from his 20-point season last year in 81 games played. But the reason we're talking about Veleno now is because with the recent departure to Dylan Larkin in the lineup, you have yourselves a very, very big opportunity for Veleno heading into today's game against the Colorado Avalanche. Now, in the description, I'm going to leave a link to an article published on mlive.com by Ansar Khan. Red Wings' Joe Veleno is eager for a prime opportunity with Dylan Larkin out. This article goes over the latest with the Red Wings and what they're doing with Veleno, and it talks about how Derek Lalonde had more experienced options like JT Compher and Andrew Kopp to plug into the top-line center spot in Dylan Larkin's absence. He went with Joe Veleno, showing confidence that the 24-year-old is up to the task of skating with DeBrincat and Kane. Oh boy, that sounds pretty good. I still want to play my game and what's given me success, Joe Veleno said. Obviously, they're two highly skilled players that demand the puck and want the puck, so I'm definitely going to try to be strong on pucks, win some battles. Definitely try to make them play with the puck like they want to. I'm just going to try to help them out in any way I can contribute. Now, he also says, in regards to how he's going to play with Kane and DeBrincat, I just want to keep on going and building and playing the right way, try to earn as much trust as I can get. Veleno, in his second full NHL season, has earned his coach's trust, Ansar Khan writes, and following that is a quote from Lalonde talking about how Joe Veleno has always had the pop in his skating. He needs to be a little more assertive with the puck. I think what's really impressive this year is that last year, he started to tail off towards the second half of the season. That has not been the case this year. That's a credit to him and his growth. Now, when it comes to Joe Veleno, of course, this is just a small update. Oh yeah, he's on the first line, and this will be an opportunity for him to play with Kane and DeBrincat. But I do want to turn your attention to some of the past things we have seen out of that duo. Because, obviously, it's easy to say, oh yeah, Larkin, Kane, DeBrincat, what a great line, right? They're all so good. But What if I asked you to take a time machine back to 2018-19, the first season that Alex DeBrincat scored 40 goals in the NHL? He was playing with Patrick Kane, right? But if I asked you to recall who was the center on that line, you'd probably get the answer wrong if you weren't paying too much attention to the Chicago Blackhawks of all teams. Because no, it wasn't Dylan Strome, 2015 third overall pick. No, it wasn't Jonathan Toews, captain of the team and soon-to-be Hall of Famer. The center for Kane and DeBrincat was Artem Anisimov. And he did a really good job back in this time frame in the 2018-19 season being that center for DeBrincat and Kane. This screenshot of the Blackhawks lines is from 2018, November. So, of course, I used the Wayback Machine, archive.org. Thank you so much for your service. But it goes to show you that sometimes you don't need to be a superstar, amazing, top-of-the-line player like Larkin to have some success with Kane and DeBrincat. And with Joe Veleno, I'm not saying he's going to become the next Artem Anisimov. That's a pretty low ceiling, I'd say, for a guy who, because of his exceptional status, was touted to being a potential elite franchise-caliber center. But for now, this is an opportunity for Joe Veleno to maybe get some chemistry, and if he's able to fill the same role that Anisimov did back when Kane and DeBrincat were starting out together, who knows what possibilities could be out there. Now, let's shift the focus over onto the Montreal Canadiens and talk about the guy on their team that I wanted to discuss, Joshua Waugh. Because when it comes to Waugh, yesterday he scored himself a game-tying goal with 5 minutes to go in the third period. That was one of the better goals I've seen this year, but not really for the reasons you may think. Mostly because this was a goal of just a guy doing what a guy wants to do. Josh Waugh comes into the zone, there's nobody really with him, he's not looking to make off any passes, he's got two Predators defensemen in front of him, he comes over right at the perimeter of the faceoff circle and just decides to rip it on goal. And it goes in. Josh Waugh scored what was essentially the most QMJHL goal that you can score in the NHL, where you don't really try to pull off a fancy move, you don't try to make a pass, you don't try to deceive anybody, you just kind of come in, you notice that there's nobody with you, so instead of dumping it in and getting the change, you're like, okay, I'm just going to shoot it, and it goes in. Beautiful goal right there for Josh Waugh, and because of the way that he has been playing, we had some comments from Martin St. Louis in regards to his progression. This is what he said after the game. Martin St. Louis said, "We're all aware about Josh Waugh, that he's a young player, that he could be helping in Laval right now, but it's walking that fine line of how do you keep him up here, how do we benefit him, us, Laval, but it's a good situation for him to be in because he's making us toe that line." Now, this is kind of a weird quote. The way Priyanka Emrith writes it out isn't really the most reader-friendly, I'd say, but essentially, Martin St. Louis is talking about how, because Josh Waugh has been so good at the NHL level, the fact is, it's tough to see him as just a quote-unquote Laval Rocket call-up at this point. The guy has 7 points in 17 games played, which isn't, like, amazing, but it's still fine, especially for a guy who was just in the QMJHL last year. But he's a near point-per-game player in the AHL as a rookie, and has already made some significant strides into the National Hockey League at 20 years old as a fifth-round pick 3 years ago. If there's anybody that's going out there and shattering the norms as to what a normal fifth-round pick should be capable of doing 3 years after getting drafted, it's Josh Waugh. He went from being this uncoachable, not really motivated, bad work ethic, QMJHL guy who had a ton of hype because he was a first overall pick in the QMJHL by that same St. John Sea Dogs team that we had just talked about who took Joe Veleno 4 years prior. But Josh Waugh was so good in the QMJHL, and then he fell off, and then he slipped to the 5th round, and then he was taken there, and it was a wake-up call that he went so late in the draft, and he wasn't the top guy like everybody thought he would be. And like the Patrick Kane conversation that we had earlier on in the year, when it comes to top-tier guys, when it comes to players who are above and beyond in their age range or in just the group of people, human beings that they are, NHL players recover from injuries quickly. Superstar players like Patrick Kane can normally recover from things that we don't normally see players recover from. If you're exceptional, and you can be above the rest. And Josh Waugh was exceptional pretty much his entire junior career up until the draft years came when he was taken by the Canadiens in that 5th round. So now, if there's anybody that's going to be able to recover and bolster up his stock after that wake-up call, it seems to be Josh Waugh. He's making it tough for Martin St. Louis and the Canadiens to send him down. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Waugh, about Veleno, if you're a Canadiens fan or a Red Wings fan. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.